feel the heartbeat of that? I'm always blessed and in divine awe of what shows up. Your giants, homage to your father through the giant redwoods and Humboldt County, and then I had chosen this. It's all earth and heart and soul, and so continuing in that heart and soul, let me begin with today's lesson. I've titled it The Compelling Heart, and I was asked this morning, what is that? And I said, well, what do you think it is? And so, what do you think it is? Again, happy Father's Day. The title is about love and the directive nature and the power of the Father. So this morning, I'd like to first recognize and honor the human Father. How many of you have or had a father? I expect to see all your hands up, because we all had to have a father somehow, somewhere, right? That's the trick question. Well, let's see, who in this room is the father who has lived the most years? I think I see one right there. Mr. Babcock. James, would you hand this to your father, please? A gift to the Father. Let me see. Who is the person here, any of you, who has the most siblings? What? 9. Uh-oh. SpaghettiOs. 9? 2 9s? Good deal. Anyone? 10 total? And you're 10 total? Oh. Maggie, would you like to? Thank you. Is there anyone here who is an only child? Twins? Well, we do have one father that's not in the room, but he's not the biological father. But I call him the father of the children, the kids. Morgan. Yeah, so Morgan, you get one of these too. It's always nice to gift the Father, because they've gifted us, you know? So let's talk Father, shall we? The Science of Mind teachings note that we embody both the masculine and the feminine aspects. Masculine, the Father, is directive, objective. That's that part of mind, the mental. Now, the feminine or mother nature is the subjective or the creative medium of mind. I call that the heart. So we have the mind and the heart, the masculine, the feminine. There's none greater than the other. And when in perfect balance, they're a divine team, aren't they? They're a divine team. And together, when in agreement and balanced, they become a mighty, moving, unified force in the universal aspect of our very being. What does it mean, universal aspect? Well, to me, it means universal to all of us, to each one of us, accessible to all, equally, in consciousness. Note to self, note to yourself, to the degree and capacity we are able to accept any of it. This is where our good awaits, and we get to recognize it. A lot of us just don't know that it's there. Don't know that it's there. This good is the divine space that I call love. And it awaits the call of the Father nature to give it its direction, shall we say. It doesn't mean that, our physical birth father is the boss over the mother. No. Some try. Some believe it should be. But that's all fake news. Thank you. Amen. Got an amen on that. So, let me example that call of the Father. Any of you watch horse racing, specifically the Kentucky Derby? Or do you know about it? You know how a horse race works, right? Well, so there is a call to post. Do you know what that is? It goes something like dun 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 dun. How's that? And the horses line up, and they step to the gate. Ready to go. Ready to go. And then the bell sounds, and the gates open. And what is it the announcer then says? And they're off. And they're off. Well, you may know where I'm going with this. You and I are always at a starting gate of our next experience. The rider, the jockey, is our conscious mind saying, "Giddy up, let's go. Let's get this party started." The horse is the experience, isn't it? And the horse is subject to the direction it is given. There's reins on the horse. Left, right, whoa, or giddy up. Now, the biggest difference between a horse race and our lives is our gait is not controlled by someone else. We are our own announcer. We get to call that because we are always and always supported by a loving, generous spirit that gives us volition and freedom in our lives to choose when that happens for us, or if it happens for us. Ernest Holmes, in The Science of Mind, wrote this, and I quote, "Spirit is the medium through which I am conscious of myself, of others, and of my environment." End quote. I'll say that again. Spirit is the medium through which I am conscious of myself. That's important. To be conscious of yourself and your own thinking. Remaining in a state of conscious is an important part of a life that's filled with love. Many times we have ideas that push love away from us. We act out instead of acting towards something. with love. So to be conscious is to be awakened to awaken to what is happening now in our lives. What's happening now in your life? And conscious to now, N-O-W, has the grand ability to be appreciative. To be appreciative. So you might ask, how is that? How is that? How is that so? Well, if we're not conscious, we often get caught up in the drama and the confusion, the pain and the suffering, the I'm a victim, etc., etc., etc. Anyone ever get caught up in the drama? Once or twice, maybe years ago, right? Not this morning. Who has children? Drama. They tell you right where they're thinking, don't they? And there's no getting out of it. We'll wait. We're going to talk about this now, Mom. This is a big deal, Dad. It's a big deal. So being conscious means remaining alert to all, yet not always taking part in the all. Stay at the gate. Wait a moment. See what all is. Do you want to start that adventure? Or do you want to say, whoa, horsey, I don't want to do that one. I don't want to do that one. Conscious allows us with clarity, that word conscious, to be at the starting gate of our own direction. And conscious is an opportunity to love ourselves in a truer sense, in the spiritual sense of the word conscious. In our book, Whatever Arises, Love That, by Matt Kahn, there's insights that are offered, and shall I say, remaining at the starting gate and asking ourselves, our hearts, is that which is before me of my heart? Is it mine? Does it swell up my ego, or does it soften my heart? A little tag on here, on the title, it says, a love revolution that begins with you. So, I'm ready for a lot more love, a lot more revolution in my life. I have quite a lot right now, and I'm so appreciative. And but who doesn't want more? I want more. Yeah, I want more. So in the book, he quotes, I'll quote his words, whether as an activity of the mind or as reactive patterns in your body, knowing what arises gives you full permission to be in a world without being victimized by the characters you see. As your mind and heart merge together, the comings and goings of life tend to lighten up. What used to be disappointment and make it easy to lose all hope in humanity have become moments to cultivate or even higher vibrational frequency. To cultivate an even higher vibrational frequency than ever before. What used to be disappointment and make it easy to lose all hope in humanity have become moments to cultivate an even higher vibrational frequency than ever before. He goes on to say, as your vibration skyrockets, one inspired, heartfelt choice at a time, your evolving perception of life expands the world around you. And that's the end of the quote. So today's lesson titled The Compelling Heart was drawn from an experience that I had last month. Let's first talk about the word compelling, and then I'll tell you about my experience. The word compelling means evoking interest, attention, or animation in a powerfully irresistible way. Don't you love that? A powerfully irresistible way. So my story goes thusly. I was drawn to a starting gate of being conscious of where my heart would lead me. A friend from high school called in May. And so in the call, she told me that her brother had died 2 months earlier. And then she went on to say that her son had died just 2 weeks prior. What do you think my heart was doing? What's your heart doing? And she said, you know, there's a class reunion coming. And I said, yeah, it's like in 6 days. Yeah, I wasn't planning on attending, nor was she. And then she said to me, you know, I thought to myself, if I were to go, who would I really want to see there and talk to and share this part of my life with? And I said, now, and who would that be? It was me. It was me. So I said, well, let me move a couple of molehills. And I didn't use mountains. And I'll get back to you tomorrow. So I had here's how spirit and love works. I called and notified the Oroville church where I was to speak and said, I'll find another speaker for you, but I need to be somewhere else. And bless Reverend Andy, he said yes. So the gates opened for me, and I drove down 4 days later. We had a wonderful time. She cried, I cried, we held each other. Her husband, beautiful man. You know how sometimes when a smart individual knows when to stand over here and not say a word and just look at you and love you? That's what her husband did to us as we were coming together. It was powerful. It was irresistible. And yes, it was very animated. And, you know, being in that space of an open heart, heading down to be with her name is Ina. My spiritual treatment, which I always do before starting the car, was for ease, beauty, and in perfect time and space. Now, I like to put my address into GPS, which I did. And you know, it took me a brand new way. At first I thought, where am I? I could see on the screen where they were telling me I was located. And it was all okay. But it took me right past where I usually turn. But it seemed to be more of a direct route right into the hotel where I was staying in Southern California, which is Lancaster. High desert, just north of the Grapevine. Took me the whole southern edge on an elevated road where I got to see colors I'd never seen before in the valley in which I grew up. The Joshua trees were in full bloom. I'd never seen that. They were just laden with blossoms. And fields and fields and acres and fields of poppies in full bloom. And some pretty narrow, bumpity roads. And I got to not get caught up in, like, no judgment, but am I going the right way? Yeah, I was going the right way. Okay, keep going. So I tell you all this because I was called to be very conscious of where I was. And therefore, I stopped a lot along this circuitous route and just took it all in. That's being conscious. That's being aware. It's being present. It's being now. And I also learned about some of my earliest interest in becoming a licensed hairdresser, which is what I have done for 50 years plus. Anyway, one of my classmates I had not talked to deeply earlier said to me, Michael, do you remember when you sat behind me in elementary school? And I said, well, what was that? I said, what was that? You said to me one day after you tapped me on the shoulder, Michael, or her name is Karen. I said, Karen, do you know you have a hole in the back of your hair? And I just thought that was so funny because I think, don't you often wonder when you first started down the path of wherever we are, however that came to be, what was my earliest inkling? I didn't remember that. I had no memory. And so we had done with that. A couple of days later, I kept saying, oh, you have no hair, no hole in the back of your hair today. She said, I know, I took care of that. It's your fault. So it was a deeper connection. It was more love. It was more laughter. And as I was getting ready to leave, my friend Ina to come back to Chico, she said, my daughter's got me into this book, and I want your view on it. Course in Miracles. I said, I've heard of it. In fact, our church center we teach this. We meet on this. And she says, where do I start in the book? How do I do this? Is there a plan? She's a retired teacher. I said, forget all you've learned about teaching. Open the book when you have a question and just look. And there it'll be. And she texted me a couple of days ago, I've opened that book several times and you were right. It works for me that way. It works for me that way. And so it was a wonderful trip. I feel so much more loving about my experience growing up. You never know what you say and how it's going to affect people's lives 55 years later. And so I want to share some wisdom from Albert Einstein as I near my completion here. And he wrote, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift. It's easy to forget the gift and who serves what and how it's to be served up. So I learned to lead from my heart, which is the servant, with a clear and conscious perception of the mind. To listen to the intuitive nature of spirit. And I teach this stuff, but every so often you have to be the servant. It's the balance of a person's health, I guess you'd say. Now, the intuitive nature of spirit, which I listen to more of the time, I refer to as GPS, God's positioning system. Because when we allow Spirit, God, to go first, the way is always perfect. And then be conscious to see that what is before us has been already there. It's perfect and it's before us. And we get to see it, if we're conscious, with more awe and more wonder. I am grateful for the Science of Mind teaching. This principle that I can and do live a life in full abundance and radiant love. I'm looking at you, radiant loves. So, in closing, please know that you are at the starting gate of your next great adventure. Fueled by spirit and conscious. Conscious. With conscious knowing and clear ideas. And always, always, always drawn by a compelling heart. So let me end my lesson with a quote from Ernest Holmes. It's from The Voice Celestial. There is no time nor place, but here and now. Let's say that a couple of times. There is no time nor place, but here and now. One more time. There is no time nor place, but here and now. And so it is. Namaste.